Hey, what's happening, house groups? Welcome to week 2 of the fall season, and it's football season. And last week, the Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles, I'm an Eagles fan. They won. They beat the Redskins. So if you're a Redskins fan, your team is horrible. If you're a Dallas fan, you guys got lucky, kind of lucky. The New York Giants aren't that good of a team anyway. So. But anyway, I'm a Philly fan. But welcome to house groups this week. If you are a guest, if you're new, if you haven't been to a house group before, man, it's good to have you, and I'm glad you made the choice to come. And before I go any further, as a leader at Journey, I just want to say thanks to you, and I applaud you as a student for making tonight a priority, coming to house groups. You could be anywhere else, doing anything else, but you've decided to put some effort into figuring out what it is to walk, to follow Jesus, to walk the Christian walk, whatever that looks like. And I know you're trying to figure that out, and so am I. So I just applaud you for making this a priority on your Sunday and to start your week off. So, when I was growing up, I'm 55 now, in case you wondered. Well, I'll be 55 September 20th, so this coming Friday. And when I was growing up in high school, I worked for my dad doing construction. So you could say, oh, that would be horrible to work for your father. But it has some perks. I always had free lunch. I never had to buy my lunch, so that's kind of cool. And I always had a ride to work. I didn't have to use my own gas. And then I probably was never going to get fired, because then he would have to answer to my mom, and that would have been a whole big deal. So unless I'm going to straight up rebel or not do my work, I was never going to get fired. So those are some of the perks. Obviously, the challenge is you never get any space from your parents. But anyway, I work with my dad doing construction. And one of the things about construction is that you need the right tools to do a job well. Now, you can work hard. You can be a really hard worker, and that makes up for some stuff. But at the end of the day, you really need the right tools to do a job well. And so we would acquire these tools, but often we would get to a point where we didn't have the tool we needed, and we would get to the end of the job, and there were some little things, like there was a gap here or something didn't look right, and we had this saying, just caulk it. It'll be fine. And if you don't know what caulk is, it's kind of like this gooey, gluey substance that you use to fill holes or fix imperfections, and it's not really the right way to do stuff, but we would just use it if we had this terrible deal. You're like, well, Paul, what's the point? Why are you even talking about construction or caulk or tools or whatever? The point is, when I think about our topic of this month, which is relationships or friendships, I see a lot of similarities, because a friendship takes work, and a friendship or relationship, you need certain tools. You need to apply certain things to that friendship for it to grow. And the big deal about friendship is this, that your friends will determine kind of the quality of your life, but also the direction of your life. So I know I'm starting to sound like a parent now, but man, you gotta determine, number one, what kind of friend are you going to be, and what kind of friends are you going to have. And so last week you talked about this idea that friendship or friends are forged in the fire, when things get tough, when you're struggling through things. And so you're in a new school year. For those of you that are in traditional school calendar, you're in a new school year. If not, maybe some of you are going to be tracking out soon in the next deal. But whatever the case is, in this school year, you're going to walk through this school year with friends. And during this school year, there are going to be moments where that friendship that you have isn't going to be operating on all the cylinders. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be awesome. Why? Because friends fight. Friends have disagreements. and friends hurt each other. And that's not intentional. It's just the fact that we're imperfect, right? Everybody has junk, everybody's imperfect, and so we say things or we do things unintentionally that hurt friendships, or we're hurt by our friends. And so maybe you can think about even in the last week or month or year when you have been hurt by a friend. And so you're like, well, how do what tool do I have that would help that when I'm hurt by somebody, or when I hurt someone? What tools do I apply to that friendship to help it? And so I want to talk a little bit about that tonight. But before I talk about that and just give you a few things, I want you to take a break from this video, and I want you to go to a story in the Bible that we're going to use tonight. It's kind of about a family, but it has some principles for friendship, and that's in the book of Ruth, and it's in the first chapter, and I want you to read the first 18 verses. So as a group, pause this video, go to the chapter, and read those first 18 verses, and then I'll come back and I'll just give you just a few things that I want to draw out of that story to help you not only to be a good friend, but to kind of use these few things to heal or fix maybe a broken friendship or relationship that you have. All right, so welcome back. You guys hopefully spent some time reading that story. Kind of a jacked up story when you think about it. So this family moves, it's a Jewish family, so they move to another place, a non-Jewish community, if I can say it that way, right? And soon after they move, the dad dies, and then a little while later, 10 years later, I think, the two sons die. So now you have this wife who's a widow, right? She lost her husband and she lost her two boys, but she has these two daughter-in-laws, and so she ends up wanting to go back home, finds out there's food, right? There was a famine. That's what left them. That's what caused them to leave in the first place. Now they're going back, and her daughter-in-laws are going with her, and she's like, no, you guys need to stay here, stay with your own people. I'm going to go back to my people. And so one of the daughter-in-laws, she's like, okay. And but then there's one, Ruth, who says to her mother-in-law Naomi, no, I'm staying with you. And there's a verse that I want to read. It's kind of in the end of that section that I gave you. After she says, no, you need to go, she says this, but Ruth said in verse 16, don't urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I'll go, and where you lodge, I'll lodge. Your people will be my people, your God, my God. Where you die, I'll die, and there will I be buried. So she's like all in. Ruth is like, I'm not going anywhere. And may the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you. And when Naomi, the mother-in-law, saw that, she was determined to go with her. She said, okay, all right, obviously I'm not going to chase you away, right? And so let's talk a little bit, and I just want to give you a few quick things because Caleb told me I can't talk too long. He says, look, I know you're my father-in-law, I know you're my boss, but you're kind of boring when you talk, so you can't talk too long. So I'm going to try and summarize this, okay? Just a few principles about friendship. So let's say you and your friend, right? You have a good relationship, good friendship. Your friend does something to hurt you, and not intentional. It just happens, right? We're all imperfect. We already talked about that. So what do you do? And I'm going to give you 4 things that you have to choose, because friendship is a choice, right? Friendship takes work. I will tell you this. So I already told you I'm 55 or almost 55. I could count my close friends on one hand, actually less than one hand. So outside of my family, I know a lot of people. I hang out with a lot of people, but close friends, I only have a few of those. And if you're going to have some friends that are going to go the test of time with you, or if you're going to be that kind of friend, you're going to have to make some choices in your life. And the first choice is this. regardless of what happens, you got to choose to stick with your friend. Look, I'm not talking about stupid stuff like if your friend starts to go down a path that is unhealthy, right? Let's say they choose, this is always something you go to, but like drugs or alcohol or whatever, or a lifestyle that is like far from God or far from moral things, right? They just start doing stuff that, man, that's a dead end. I'm not talking about that, all right? Because the Bible's pretty clear about who you choose as your friends, right? I think in Proverbs 13:20, it says this, that you and I, we should choose to walk with the wise. All right, it says this, walk with the wise and you'll become wise, right? You become who you're around. Now, again, I'm starting to sound like your parent. But then on the other side, it says, for a companion of fools suffers harm. So you got to choose, right, the right people to be around. But when you choose those right people, they're still going to make mistakes. But in that moment, here are 4 things to heal relationships, to fix broken relationships. Number 1 is this: choose to stick with your friend. Choose to stick with them. Like, they're going to be stupid. They're going to make a bad decision. They're going to hurt you in some way. But choose to stick with them. And you're like, well, what does that even look like? Now, it might be a season, a little bit of a time frame where you're not talking to one another or whatever. But don't roll out on your friend. Choose to stick with them through thick and thin. When their life's not all gravy, right? You're still going to be there. You're still going to let them know, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you. But in the same point, this is the second thing you need to do. You need to choose to speak truth to your friend. So a good friend tells the truth to their friend. So that heals brokenness. It might not feel good at first. It's like right when you get a cut and you try and clean that cut out or pour something in that cut to make sure it's clean and it doesn't get infected. The same thing happens with a friendship. Like, say a friend hurts you, man, you got to keep a short account with that friend. Tell them the truth. Say, hey, you hurt me, or this happened, or whatever. And dude, that made me feel like crap. So you have to speak the truth to your friend. If you're going to hide truth from your friend, that friendship will never last. Never last. It never does. So 1, you got to choose to stick with your friend through anything. Number 2, choose to speak the truth to your friend. Number 1, and you see it in this story with Ruth, in that verse that I read you need to choose to put the needs of your friend before your needs. So all of us have this need to feel loved, to feel wanted, to feel like we belong, to feel accepted. And so sometimes we do whatever we can to meet that need instead of making sure that the other person's needs are met. Those needs of feeling loved, feeling like they belong, feeling like they are accepted. And so that's important for you. If you're going to be a friend, if you're going to be able to heal broken relationships, you're going to have to step out and meet their needs before just looking simply at your needs. And then lastly, and this is kind of a very cool element you might not think much about in healing broken relationships or healing friendships, and that is this: pray for your friend by name. And I will tell you this in every area of my life. So, I've been married for now 34 years, and the best times of my life with my wife are when I'm praying for her. Like when she's in my mind and in my thoughts and I'm praying for God to bless her. The best conversations that I have with my friends, or the times where I feel closest to my friends, are the times when I'm praying for them by name. And so I would encourage you to do that all the time, not just when your friendships are broken or when you're trying to heal a relationship, but all of the time in your friendships, in your relationships, even with your parents, man, and your brothers and sisters, to where when you pray for people by name, it's this crazy thing, man, where God just seems to engage in that relationship, in that other person. It helps your communication, helps everything. So maybe something you haven't thought about, but 4 things, man. If you want to move into this realm of being a great friend, or into this realm where you can heal broken relationships, 4 things. Choose to stick it out. Stay there with your friend even when it gets hard. Speak the truth to your friend. Choose to put the needs of your friend before yourself. And then lastly, pray for your friend by name. Look, bottom line, I would want this for anybody, and I would want it for you. Man, I want you to be a great friend, and I want you to experience great friendship. But it's going to take work, and it's going to take some intentional choosing on your part. So thanks for listening tonight. Have a great rest of your house group.